We are live. It is a great day on Cribl TV. We have the usual suspects, Ed Bailey and Jackie McGuire, and we are joined by our extra special guest, Michelle Zhang from Partner Marketing. Is that where you're from, Michelle?
Yep. So I lead our
Uh-huh.
Cloud and Tech Alliance marketing here at Cribl,
Nice.
and it's awesome to be here. Happy Friday.
That's awesome. Thank you for joining. I am still learning and understanding the differences of the departments in marketing, so I'm going to ask plenty of stupid questions. But you're super
Ask
smart, you know
away.
your business, so I'm glad you're here. Um, so tell us, so where are you coming from? A little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I have been in marketing for my whole career, specifically B2B SaaS. Came over from IBM and joined Cribl because I'm excited about the challenge and use cases that we solve, and just being part of such a rapidly growing company. It's been quite the journey. I've been here for a year and a half now.
Nice. So I had no idea you came from IBM. So tell you, what's the biggest difference between IBM and Cribl? Other than
I,
the 500,000 people.
yeah, going for I think it was around 300K when I joined, and then at Cribble I joined at under 400, so that was
Um,
a huge difference.
yeah,
Um, there's a lot. I think being part of a small company, you've got a lot of room for growth. Got incredible people that we work with every day, and you really get to know them. And then I think the ability to directly see the customer impact from where I sit in marketing is really clear at Cribble. Every day I'm seeing messages in Slack on like how we help the customer get value out of their data, or you know give them freedom again. So it's been really exciting.
nice. That's super awesome. So we are here today. We are going to talk about AWS reInvent, the show of shows, the madhouse, the gathering, the large gathering of people. We talk about large language models. That's a large model of people. And so we're going to talk about our impressions, our thoughts. So Jackie, tell me, what do you think about AWS reInvent 2023?
I did not sleep very much, so it was it was pretty wall to wall. It was interesting, right? So every year at these conferences, this one, RSA, the big ones, there's a big theme, right? And so we saw last year it was XDR, and everybody had some XDR solution and automation. And this year, of course, it's AI, and more specifically, generative AI. And so I'm walking around everybody's booths, and they've all got something, right? They've all got some type of thing that they can use the AI search terms to enhance their marketing reach. And I worry. I worry a lot about that for a few reasons. One is that I think, as we're going to talk about here, like the applications for AI are somewhat limited in scope. And then we also have this really interesting phenomena where people think AI is free right now. And AI is anything but free. AI is really expensive. So I also worry that we are getting enterprises hooked on a free supply of AI that is not going to last, because the compute that makes that AI work is not free. And eventually the end user is going to have that cost passed along to them. So it's really good. I actually thought, from a partner perspective, it was interesting. Usually there's like one or two really dominant companies at these events. I mean, this is Amazon, right? So it's Amazon at this one, but beyond that, there's usually a company or two who just has the big booth and is like really dominant, and you see their stuff everywhere. And it didn't feel like that this year. It seemed like there were a handful of larger companies, but the attention and I don't know, the activity was far more spread across people, different companies. And so I'm not sure if that's maybe an economy thing. Like, the economy's tough. So maybe the one or two companies who usually buy out all the advertising and all of that decided to pull back a little bit. Or maybe it's an awareness on AWS's part, or Amazon's part, that they're supposed to be somewhat agnostic for all the vendors who they work with. And so having one company dominate your conference might not be a good idea.
Yeah, I think the latter is a very interesting point. I mean, we've seen AWS invest so much in their partners. Like this for me, reInvent is one, like a big reunion, because you get to see everybody, all the partners that we work with, the partners that we want to work with, but also it's a huge celebration of all the progress made over the past year with AWS and the partners. And a lot of that comes from the amount they're investing in the programs to help build, joint better together stories with their partners. And that's all, again, for the customers. And so we are in the global startup program over at AWS, and they've given us a great platform to share the Cribl story. So to your point, Jackie, I think a lot of that has been investment in growing some of the smaller partners that maybe not everyone has heard of.
Yeah,
That's awesome. It's good also that just being able to get exposure, being able to work with others, because I think it grows our fundamental go-to-market, especially because we specialize in sharing and integration between vendors. And so being partners, having a broad partnership ecosystem is key.
Yeah, I think we also had a lot more people who were looking like, I call them swag surfers always at the conferences, the people who are just there, for free shirts and things like that. So two things. One, I did see that Amazon put donation bins just outside the doors into the expo hall so that people who got t-shirts and socks and things like that they weren't going to use could donate them to the homeless, which I thought was really good. It's one of the things that I really struggle with working in tech is that a lot of these conferences seem to be really just wasteful, and the amount of just trash swag that is, that people pick up and will throw away or never use bothers me, to be honest. So it was really good to see Amazon trying to take a step towards something more sustainable. Also, shout out to Elastic, who was handing out ice cream tacos. That is a much better alternative to swag.
Yeah, that was yummy. Nice.
I can't believe you missed it either, because I think we each ate like 3 or 4 a day. It was a lot. Like they actually told they told us not to come back because we were like, can we have more ice cream? But for what it's worth, we also have a partnership with Elastic. So hopefully we're sending them enough business that they can afford a few more ice cream tacos for us. But and I'd really like to see more companies transition to consumables. Like, give me candy, don't give me a t-shirt, because I'm not going to wear your t-shirt ever.
Or socks.
The best idea I've seen was at Reinforce this past June, and a partner brought in puppies that you could pet, and it was more of a donation to animal welfare.
That's awesome.
Pet puppies.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's a great idea, and it's been going on for years. The level of waste is just incredible. So I mean, I think it's a great idea, and hopefully it will just shift away. Or toys for kids. I thought what we were doing with giving away cars was great, because kids love that stuff. So I mean, I think that's really good.
Yeah, for anybody who wasn't at reInvent, so Cribl is the data engine for IT and security. So as our use cases have broadened, we've started to realize that it's not just observability data and security data, that in an artificially intelligent enterprise, it's all just data. And then the applications for the data are what varies. So our new kind of messaging is all that we're the data engine for IT and security. And so as part of that, we had a race car driver. We did this really fun trivia game every 45 minutes or so, and then we gave away officially licensed die-cast Porsches. So it was really fun. It was, and I felt like, I got distracted by ice cream, but what I felt like was that there were a lot more people who were coming to us actually looking for education and solutions. So sometimes they just come by the booth and they just want to talk to you long enough to get the swag that they're looking for. But this year I had some really deep, really meaningful conversations around, how do I get my enterprise ready for AI data? How do I, I'm a systems integrator. How do I get data from this place to that place? So I felt like I had much more opportunity than typical to actually share how we can help, which is good. It felt like people were there for a reason.
It was nice getting past education and like, who is Cribl, to people knew who we were, and we can then talk about how can we help you. And also strategic help, not just, how can we help manage your budget, but how can we position your enterprise to use your data, get value from your data, all those fun things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was something. I think the marketing, the hype around AI is getting really oversold. I was at a day-long Cisco event the week after at reInvent, and the general consensus is that we're interested. We're going to take a look at this, but we're not going to jump whole hog into this because we're not convinced of the value. We're not convinced that the cost is worth the benefit. And I think especially with the economy as it is right now, very concerned about making this level of invest because they understand there is no magic button. And this level of investment is just can't be done just blindly based upon hope and good wishes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jackie, I'm glad you brought up IT and security. I think this year we saw a ton of interest in Cribl Search and the ability to be able to search your data in place, without having to move it first. So, last reInvent, AWS launched Amazon Security Lake, and we were a launch partner. And over the past year, we've been, showcasing our ability to not just get third-party data in, but we're the only partner that can also help you get value out of that data and search it in place. And so a ton of people were excited about getting demos around Cribl Search.
Well, that's
Yeah,
great.
absolutely.
What was the general partner reaction though to search? I mean, were they interested in different partners? We integrated with their data lake, outside of Amazon Security Data Lake, or what was the general or was there general partner interest?
Yeah, I think a lot of the partners that we work with are also Security Lake partners as well. And so being able to serve the customers in many ways through, the value that each of us brings was definitely something that partners brought up. And I think that we can apply the search capabilities to other, partner offerings as well.
Yeah, I imagine that must get to be a little bit of a sticky conversation though, because we're offering something to everyone. So the kind of differentiation between one partner or another it just changes the dynamics, I guess.
Yeah, what's definitely important is that we always put our customers first. That's definitely a value that AWS brings, and that's one of our core values. And so, being able to allow customers to use the best tools that fit their needs is the mindset or the story that we preach.
Yeah, I mean, I think choice and control is real. I mean, customers love that. They love choice, and I think it's important for us to promote that as much as we can. Even though I just imagine things it can be awkward for someone in your position.
Well, I mean, one of the nice things, we're at AWS, but
Right.
virtually every partner who's not AWS has the same problem, which is that my customers have data sitting in AWS and 1, 2, or 3 additional cloud providers, right? And that's the other thing that search can do that virtually no one else can is like, I've got data sitting in AWS, but I also have data sitting in Azure Blob. And they're two completely different things, but now I need data from Azure Blob and I want to redirect it back to AWS for some reason. And like search can do that. And I think so. I would imagine, Michelle, from your perspective, when you're talking to partners, they now have the potential to help clients with that solution, that situation where before you'd have to build all these manual integrations and whatnot, like that could be pretty impactful.
Right. And it's also about customer satisfaction. Like if we can help customers get the best value out of their data by using us with another partner solution, the customer is happy, then the partner should be happy, right? It's all about that value that the customer is getting.
Good deal. So, before the next reInvent, what are your goals in the partnership community? What are you looking to do?
Yeah, we've got an action-packed year coming up ahead. I think continuing to showcase what we do with Security Lake, but also with on the IT side. We also launched Cribl Edge on AWS Marketplace as an Elastic Kubernetes service. That's a mouthful. Add-on, basically just continuing to help developers be able to share their data across IT and security. And also access it easily on Marketplace. We quick little shameless plug, all of our Cribl products are available on Marketplace to make it easier for customers. I think we're also looking to do more, live events and workshops with our customers. We started a Dev Day series this past year, allowing customers to interact with Cribl and AWS and understand, how it works together. So we definitely want to continue meeting those customers where they are and prospects. And then just trying to expand more into the AWS programs that we've been starting to get included in.
Very, very cool. So, Jackie, tell me what do you think about what's the future for LLMs in the enterprise?
Well, one of the big things that was announced at AWS this year was Amazon Q, which is Amazon's kind of chatbot AI-enabled thing. So we've talked about this a lot for the last year. What's happening currently is that as the public-facing LLMs, it's become more obvious to enterprise why your employees should not be putting your enterprise data into those. We've seen more enterprises turn internally and say, okay, we want to deploy internal large language models or chatbots or what have you to give us, our employees, the productivity increase that they're looking for without taking on the risk of either incorporating enterprise data into training data for the public or having anything leak. And so I think Q is a really interesting iteration in that. To Michelle's point, I'm trying to decide what the adjective to use for this. The interesting point about AWS is that when you already have credits in there, you don't have to go through a procurement process to spend them at your company. Sometimes you use things more easily and more quickly. And so I think with Q being released, we're going to start seeing a lot more companies incorporate that ability. And I think that the second, third, and fourth quarter of next year is going to be dealing with all of the fallout of that, because one of the most important things, and this is the piece that I think I still have not seen a good solution for, or really understand how companies are going to control this, because it is an imperative when you're in a large enterprise and you're training large language models to separate training data from generated data. Much like a snake eating its own tail, if a generative AI model starts consuming its own generated content to train on, what happens is what's called model collapse. And you actually saw this in ChatGPT 3.5, probably 4 or 5 months ago. It got really dumb really fast. And there were a handful of different things that spun out of control. One of them was Quora, if you go look at that whole debacle. But a few different things happened where all of a sudden ChatGPT was actually training on its own data, its own generated data. And that caused the model to get... Much like any human in an echo chamber, if you only listen to your own thoughts, you're probably going to get really dumb really fast.
So was it getting high on its own supply?
It was, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. You can usually identify generated output because the sentences are much shorter, right? So it tends to be this very choppy. AI tries to be efficient, so it tries to give you the information in as few words as possible, which generally removes a lot of the nuance and things that make language human. And so you can usually recognize generated content. And so as you can imagine, if all of a sudden the AI is now consuming even shorter data, even shorter sentences that it produced, it just spirals into it basically asks, it's like you're asking a third grader. Although I think my third grader is more literate.
There you go.
But so I think the next year is going to be, for lack of a better term, to stick with our corporate branding, fucking around and finding out what happens when you AI enable enterprises who were not built to be AI enabled.
Right. And I think that's where the thing that I was looking at is that they're looking for programs. So I think internal productivity, just like you're talking about, automation is going to be where they're going to start. How do we make simple tasks faster? Things like that. I think that's where most companies are going to start. It'll be slow. And I think some companies like Microsoft, I think, are a little disappointed where people aren't going to pay $25-30 a user a month for Copilot. They're just not going to do it.
Yeah, Michelle, I think you were going to say something.
Oh, no, I was going to crack a joke. You're telling me ChatGPT can't
no, crack a joke. Go ahead.
Well, believe it or not, ChatGPT can't solve word problems. So even third grade level word problems. Right. So one of the really interesting things about word problems is that while to you and I, they seem like a simple math equation, the reasoning and the linguistic understanding it takes to apply the correct algorithm to the word problem is a very human trait. And so for the most part, generative AI has not, and that was what, not to open this can of worms, but the GAI that OpenAI was chasing after was a GAI that could make those kind of determinations and actually solve a word problem. So no, unfortunately, but I do think So here's the other thing that organizations are going to have to wrestle with is include by default or exclude by default, because those are really the only two ways to filter things, right? And so for things like false alerts, I could see false positives being somewhere where you could very easily use AI. If you start tagging things as false positives, then AI can pattern match and say, hey, like, because the statistic we cite pretty often is 24% of alerts from a SIM are triaged in any given day. So you have upwards of 70% of alerts never even being touched, mostly because 84% of alerts are false positives. And so that's something, but if I'm a hacker and I know that things that look like false positives are probably going to be categorized that way by ChatGPT, it becomes a little bit easier to manipulate it if I know what it's looking for. So that's the cat and mouse game with this, that I do think there are some really good practical applications that can supplement human filtering, but organizations are going to have to decide whether it's more valuable to get those hours of their analyst time back, or the risk that a false positive is a true positive and is dismissed anyway is too high to do that.
Yeah, guys who run our SOC were sharing some of what they were doing with me, and they're doing the process of having an AI try to understand false positives, but they're also having people review it as well. And so they're spending a lot less time reviewing what it's doing, and so they're trying to build up confidence over time that they can just let the machines take over.
Yeah, and it's probably easier to verify a yes or no than to try to determine one yourself as a human. So. Yeah, but I mean, it's just like Waymo, right? Like Waymo's supposed to be a self-driving car, but it turns out it's basically just a human driving it from somewhere else.
Yeah, it's still going to run you over. So, it's
Yeah.
the thing.
You did see that Tesla recall too, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know. Did you see that, Ed?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, and then again, that's inevitable. People make technology decisions, and then you're surprised when those decisions bite you in the ass. And so I think those are things. And I think that's where, for like you mentioned, like a SIM, you have people build your detection pipelines, or what you do is you have your AI check the style of your detection pipeline. You look for, is my regex good, but you still have people build a fundamental logic of your detection pipeline. So, but you get a mix of the benefit of, are all my regex is good? Is the syntax, correct? So you get the benefit of that automation with the double checking of the people. So I think increasingly we're going to move into a mixed world where it's a little bit of both.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I can feel safe about that. It really stuck with me, the chief architect of Walmart talking about all the data. Like, one of the things that they worry most about is prescription mistakes, and they feel that the stats in their prescription were just unfathomable how many prescriptions they fill, and it's like we cannot afford to make errors. That's where they're putting all theirs, like, zero errors. They said that, but zero errors is not possible.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
how are you constantly, pushing forward to do that, but also be efficient, because they're having concerns because of their workforce. They're having massive turnover issues because it said they just can't hire enough people. So they're trying really hard to find that right mix of value.
Yeah, and I think that's where it comes to, like, our job is to help customers actually do their jobs. Take security practitioners. We don't want them spending so much time trying to deal with sorting out their data. Like, let's let them do the job and do the actual security part.
Oh, absolutely. The automation aspect is key, especially with the shortage of talent that most enterprises are dealing with.
Yeah, and I also think, one of the first things that when I saw Cribl stream, and then, this whole AI, because I became a data scientist before this was really, like, not that I was the first mover, but I've been a data scientist for a few years. Yeah, right. Yeah, one of my 10,000 jobs. But as this started to really ramp up, and especially when ChatGPT had, like, partial model collapse, I started really thinking through that and thinking through, how, as an organization, do you really separate and tag generated data? Because the whole point of generated data is that it gets generated and then your organization starts using it. So if your organization starts using it, it's it's going to go into the training data that it was generated from. And I actually think Cribl Stream is probably one of the only ways to really do that and be able to kind of tag that stuff in flight, store it somewhere that's segregated from your internals, like that kind of thing. And It's something that I'm really looking at kind of how we can help with, but the market as a whole is struggling to answer this question of, how do you keep generated data from poisoning your training data if the whole point is that generated data is supposed to help?
I mean, I think whole new fields of governance are gonna arise to answer just exactly the question you have. Because think about the liability aspects of your internal LLM gets it wrong, and then incurs liability. Then you have to understand how it happened. Because it's just not going to be acceptable to say the machines took over and gave us bad results.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the error rate, and that's the thing I think people quite understand, the error rates on LLM are a little astonishing. And so, and you can't put prescriptions and things like that in charge of a freeform LLM. Just like no, can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think there's definitely going to be a lot of both industry based as well as, sensitivity based guardrails that we put in place to control some of this.
Well, we are running up into the half hour. Michelle, do you have anything else you want to share? We really enjoy you being here. We hope you're going to come back and grace us with your presence. Tell us some stories. So, tell us a story. Tell if from whether it's personal or business or otherwise. Tell us a story. It's something that was memorable from reInvent.
Yeah. Well, I think what we loved, we were working with partners all up through reInvent, and it was really awesome to showcase the work we've done over the past year. We had a couple partners in our booth. We had AWS Talk, CrowdStrike, and we also got into CrowdStrike's booth as well. So our very own Desi Gavis Houston shared the CrowdStrike story. And she shared an interesting story about a travel and leisure company that needed to optimize their security stack, and they use Cribl to optimize their security logs. So, they needed to optimize their FDR data while staying within their SIM licensing volumes. And so, with Cribl, actually with our recently OEM product CrowdStream, so CrowdStrike came to us wanting to OEM Cribl. They were able to route their high fidelity logs to Splunk while sending high volume logs over to CrowdStrike. So, or log scale. So,
Log scale, right?
Yeah. So, just super cool being able to share those types of stories. And I think we got a big crowd at that booth. And I'm just really excited for the partnership, going forward. There's a lot more we can do together.
Nice.
Yeah.
Desi does a great job, and it's really something where we can have vendors into our booth, and we can go into other booths and then share. So I mean, I think it really speaks to the work of that y'all are doing on the partnership side.
It's a whole party in Vegas, right?
Jackie, tell us a story, fun or otherwise, about what was leave us an impression of reInvent.
It was one thing that's interesting is, I feel like we've pushed the boulder like 3/4 of the way up the hill in terms of brand awareness for Cribl. And to your point, when I first joined the company almost a year and a half ago now, wow. Really the story, it was about awareness. Nobody even knew who we were. And so I was just trying to explain to them who we were and what we do. And this year people know who we are, but I think a lot of customers know us for Stream and the Stream capabilities. And so one of our customers was like, hey, we've been working really hard on how to get data from this place into S3 and we can't do it. And they're actually an integrator that deals with like Department of Defense and different federal agencies. And I was like, we actually have a tool that's literally just click, and that's done. And he's like, are you kidding me? Like, no, we can do that. And he's like, I've had 3 engineers working on this for 2 months. I'm like, yeah, all of those manual parsers that you built, the regexes that are going to break and all of that, we can replace all of that. So he's a little pissed that they spent a few months working on something they didn't have to. But I think it just shows me that, we're almost there with people knowing who we are, but really explaining to people that you can do almost anything. Like, we're a Swiss Army knife for your data. And if you need to get data from one place to another and you're having a hard time doing it, you should probably call us before you build anything, because either we've already built that thing, or if you're the 5th person to ask for it, we probably will build that thing. So I really would love people to come find out more before they waste 2 months of work.
Oh yeah. It happens all the time or we'll talk to a customer and they'll want to try to build it themselves and spend months and months trying to build it themselves. Just to share my, probably a little less formal, a little more colorful. The Wednesday night that we went to the partnership happy hour with Elastic and end of a long day and walking, I think I had like 23,000 steps on my watch. And we get out to the lovely outdoor cafe by the pool and had a nice soft spot to sit. I sat down, someone started bringing me drinks, and I was like, I am happy.
Living the life.
Yeah, off my feet, someone's bringing me drinks. I just kept saying, bring me the drinks with the orange juice in it. I didn't even know the name of it. And that's just it. So there's from a financial on the West Coast sat down next to me and we were having some drinks, and that's exactly what we talked about. And so much about how they're trying to build things and they don't have the time to. And so I think that was the thing that really struck, that how we can save them the time so they can spend more on value and stop spending so much time on just building just random tools. And so it was just eye opening. And it was good to see that they were just I think they found a path forward.
Yeah, I mean, and even if you have gone pretty far down a path, you can still leverage Cribl to help you test out new tools. So I think that's really great.
Yeah,
I was really hoping you would say that your favorite part was that I saved you half my spare ribs from Didn't I Have Fun, but that's
that was my so getting off my feet after being let's see, 8 a.m. that was about 7 p.m. 8 a.m. to 7, getting off my feet right there and then having someone bring me drinks. That was, I gotta say so the spare ribs were awesome, but that was really good.
I'm just still bummed I missed you two at the Sphere.
Oh, yeah, I'm going back.
I really thought about it too. I really thought about
we were close to pulling the trigger.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about going in February because it looks amazing. It just
I'm down.
Yeah, we're gonna have to try to figure this out.
Well, hopefully they're still there next year at reInvent.
No, they're gone. This is it. I mean, they're gonna have somebody else there. So yeah, it is going to be cool. All right, so let's wrap it up. So everyone, thank you for the audience. Thank you for the kind words. Angela, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the comment on the ice cream tacos. Michelle, thank you for your presence. We hope you will be back many times to tolerate Jackie and I talking about random things.
Absolutely.
Really
thank you for having me.
Jackie, you got any closing words?
I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. I am probably going to go sleep for like 2 weeks, so don't talk to me until January.
Oh, we're not doing a live stream next week. Yes, it is holiday time. It is time to relax. It's time to spend time with your family. It's time to talk to your kids, and let's go buy them some Christmas presents. So it was really great. Thank you for your time. I hope you had hope everyone has a great evening, and take care.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.